Planning Committee, May 8th, 2025.
Members, Cian Sherrick, Clarissa Slater, Vicky DeShawn, James Mead, Chair. Meeting called to order at 6 p.m. Public participation. Seeing none. We have the approval of the minutes for March 20th, 2025, regular plating meeting. We have the approval for the minutes of April 3rd, 2025, regular plating meeting. We have the approval of the April 22nd, 2025, special plating committee meeting, and approval of the minutes for April 24th, 2025, regular plating meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I ask if instead of doing it collectively, that we split the March 20th from the other three.
You want to split the March 20th?
Split it, yes, only because I was not on the committee at the time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if we're going to do that, then I'll ask to split the April 3rd on its own.
Okay. Okay, let's try this. I'll ask for a motion for the approval of the April 22nd, 2025 special plating committee meeting and an approval of the minutes on April 24th, 2025 regular plating meeting.
I'll make a collective motion for the April 22nd and April 24th special plating and regular plating committee meeting minutes.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Clarissa. Aaron?
Yes.
Clarissa?
Yes.
Vicki?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Let's go to the approval of the minutes for March 20th, 2025, regular plating committee meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the March 20th.
Thank you, Aaron. Clarissa wasn't here. Vicki? I have a
Yes.
Second?
Oh, second, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Aaron?
Yes.
Vicki?
Yes.
Clarissa?
Abstain?
And I am a yes. Now we have the approval of the minutes for April 3rd, 2025, regular plating committee meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept April 3rd regular planning committee meeting minutes.
Clarissa. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Aaron?
And then can I?
If
We
there's
have discussion?
Discussion.
Yes.
Yes, we will have discussion after the second.
So you got the second. Vicki, is there a reason why?
I'm going to vote no, and
I was just wondering if there were some corrections in there that I didn't see.
Okay. Clarissa?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Vicki?
no.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Now on the agenda for tonight, we have Tiny Homes, Ethel Street Alley Vacation, Pleasant Hill Drive Alley Vacation for Vita. And we are going to talk to Mr. Keefe.
Okay, this is a topic that's in the ad hoc committee currently for the zoning requirements and the zoning revisions for
So
the ordinances.
We're talking about tiny homes, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's something that I think we need to get out ahead of and add to the zoning regulations, since a lot of the towns, larger towns in the state are enacting ordinances to allow and regulate ADUs, accessory dwelling units, AE tiny homes. And I just wanted to give you an overview of the different types there are. One is detached, like a detached 1 or 2 car garage that's on a property. Then there's an attached garage or an addition to a house.
Do we have that?
No. I thought it was in the packet. It's way down in the packet.
That way we sort of follow because we can't see the.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure what page it is. It's pretty dark, pretty far down in the packet. Probably page 118, possibly. And then there is interior upper level, interior level, lower level, additions above garages like lofts and garage conversions. Those are the 6 different types there are. And also, Bowling Green had some issues when they first started this. People were trying to put park models in the back of their yards because the large influx of college students, and they have since put a ban on that. Anything that is on wheels that has to be in a mobile home park, which we would also be enforcing. If it is movable, it needs to be in a mobile home park. If somebody is going to put a tiny home in town, it's highly recommended that it's on a permanent foundation and it's not movable, either on a slab, crawl space, or a precast or block foundation. And I just want to bring this up in discussion before we start adding it to the agenda to the ad hoc. You guys have, and does anyone have any questions?
So, Mr. Lauder,
What's up?
as long as it's in the ad hoc or committee, do we need separate legislation for this, or can we define it?
We referred it here.
How was it referred?
Tiny homes was referred,
Yeah, I
and
refer
from full council to the planning.
to Platting Committee.
Nah, it should be fine. We can combine it.
So we should have separate legislation?
No, we can combine it.
We can combine it. So would it be lawful just to leave it up to the ad hoc committee, or?
Yeah, I don't see a reason why not.
So then, do you see any reason? Does anybody else see any reason to have separate legislation for tiny homes? Vicki?
I
You
don't have
good?
a comment.
Would it be a separate section in the ordinance itself? Has their own section?
Most likely, yeah.
Okay.
We've referred the entire zoning, is it the title or the section? What's
Well,
the
it's
scope of
already
the
in the ad hoc, so.
Yeah, so if the entire zoning title's there, you can add
Yeah.
chapter. Is it chapter?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
I may be wrong, but I'm gonna say yes.
Well, I know there's like 9 titles.
Does anybody have anything to add on tiny homes?
So just for clarification, like the ones, like the, I don't know if you ever watched the, I think it was like on HGTV or whatever, the show called Tiny Homes, where they're actually like on wheels and stuff. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like the shed style, like the she sheds and.
We want them on a solid foundation.
Right.
Correct?
We're also requiring it, we would like to have it be required that it has their own separate utilities. They will have their own water and sewer accounts. Won't be tying into the parent property. Most other towns are requiring that if you do have an ADU or tiny home on the property owner resides in the parent structure. That's to guarantee that the property is not trashed.
So it's more of a mother-in-law's suite than it
Yeah.
is a Airbnb or rental.
Yeah.
So, God, I can't believe I'm even saying this. When this was brought up originally, they were talking about the northeast plot that the plots were very small. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where the lots are only 40 foot wide.
And I know that this was brought up because of that discussion of those plots. So essentially, the way that we're considering regulating this, that would not be able to be used as tiny homes.
Sure. Why wouldn't it?
Because there's no parent structure.
Well, the only issue about that is the size of the lots up there are only 40 foot wide. And the only way to build on it, you'd have to have 2 lots to meet the square footage requirement now for that zoning district.
Which is why we were sending this to committee, so we could change that specifically for
Right.
tiny homes.
Right, so that is all in ad hoc to be revised.
So, based off what your explanation though of a tiny home, you're stating that
Well, most
there
of
has
this
to be a
is
parent.
for on a parent property. I have not even hit individual lots with tiny homes on them
Okay.
yet. That is also gonna be in that same chapter of the ordinance with tiny home and accessory dwelling units.
Okay.
So, this is just at the beginning that we're gonna be discussing this anyway,
Okay.
so.
And then last thing, if it's not something that you're like living in, like a dwelling, like let's say someone has like a ancillary structure that they're using for like the she shed or like whatever, a men's den, like
Yeah,
where they can hang out, but it's not necessarily to live in. Are we still, is that gonna be separate, or are we gonna lump that into that where they're gonna have to have separate
are they,
utilities and?
is it a structure where somebody is going to be living? If it is on somebody's property and somebody's living, that's against zoning.
Okay, because sometimes I know they can come with kitchenettes and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily like they're living there, they're just using it as like a,
There's a fine line right
Right.
now with people getting garage and shed permits. And I know there's been a lot of talk with people pulling them, and a few that I have requested floor plans to make sure that there are no kitchens or bathrooms in them.
okay,
So, because that would open up a large issue with multifamily on a single-family lot. So, this is still in the infancy in the ad hoc.
Aaron?
I was gonna say, no bathrooms in your shed or garage type thing, but what if you use it because you create art or work on your motorcycle or you're using it because you have a pool and you don't want to take people in and out of your house to use the bathroom? Like, I know a lot of people that have like those little sheds so that people can go change clothes and use the bathroom because they don't want people coming over.
And that might be
For the
where
pool.
BZA would step in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also, there's a problem with garages that have been converted in town that are not paying utilities. And they are illegal against zoning. So that's the other reason why that we have to have the ordinance set up. So, there's a fine line.
Aren't those utilities still getting paid? I mean, if you're using.
Yeah,
water
but
in
you
your
can't
garage-
you can't have somebody living in a shed on a property. Yeah, okay, if it has a bathroom, fine, but if there's evidence that somebody's living in it,
Right, but that's the thing, is you'd have to have evidence that that's what it's being used for, and not because they don't want to take grease in their house, or paint, or clay, or,
well, I get that, yeah,
okay.
so. Any other questions about this?
the joys of governing.
What's that?
The joys of governing.
So we can actually change like those lots up there, change the square footage for a tiny home. If a tiny home's gonna be on a separate lot, and it's only 40 foot wide. An average tiny home is 10 foot wide, maybe?
If you go, the standard width of a two-car garage is 24 foot wide. You still have enough room in that zoning district to meet the side yard setback requirements. If you put a 24 foot wide two-car garage in the middle of the lot.
Okay.
So the 40-foot lots could stay if you're putting a tiny home on it, but you'd have to push it back enough from the front yard setback to have parking in the front of it, basically treating it like a park model or a mobile home with a garage in the front. Like I've had a few people do a double wide with a garage in front over off of, over by the high school. So we could require that the front yard setback is far enough back they can have parking in front of it. Or if they do two lots, then they could build a garage. But then they'd have to consolidate the lots together. Because you can't build, because of the zoning requirement, you can't build a accessory structure on a lot that does not have a single-family home on it. You'd have to consolidate the two lots together.
Okay, you gotta repeat that because you're building a tiny home on a lot,
Right.
but you're telling me I can't build a tiny home on a lot because there's not a home on the lot.
No, I'm saying for a garage, for like an accessory structure, you would have, depending on the width of the tiny home, if you would have enough room to put a garage behind
In
it
front of it. All right.
or next to it.
Okay.
So, but again, there's a bunch of things in the ad hoc that we need to adjust for these and some other things. So,
All right, anything else on tiny homes?
not that I have. Anybody else have any comments? Questions? Okay.
Okay, Ethel Street, alley vacation.
Brandon, I wanted to talk to you on this before this came up.
Okay.
And I wasn't really ready to talk about this tonight. I thought we were, I know the rear alley, we were still waiting for the railroad on. Still haven't heard
Still
from
haven't heard
them.
anything from them.
And then I heard from the property owner this afternoon.
You too?
Yes, a few times.
Yeah.
And was informed that police presence was out there Monday evening.
Okay.
And I was just curious if, is the city going to go ahead and request that southern part of the Ethel Street right-of-way to be vacated?
We're working on that.
Okay,
Okay, can we table this for now then?
I recommend it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Pleasant Hill Drive alley vacation, Avita.
Okay, let me get to that here. Oh, that didn't come through.
Aaron, did you see the plans for that yet? The Avita?
Just what we had up here before, and
They changed them up a
Yeah.
little bit. But I think it looks better the way they're doing it now. They still want to vacate the alley back behind it, and they're still going to build the street
Okay,
down there.
um,
Oh, there it is.
on the screen here, Avita Hospital is requesting the north end of Pleasant Hill Drive which is only 16 feet wide, it's, you know, like the width of an alley, to be vacated from the south right-of-way line of Hill Street down approximately 325 feet to the south property line of a lot that the hospital already owns. So this area of Pleasant Hill Drive is going to be vacated, and Avita is building a new sports and rehab facility on the property, and this is getting redeveloped for their parking lot.
Show them the new road they're gonna put in.
Here's a few of the elevations of the new building. The top one is the east elevation where the entryway is. The next one is the west elevation facing the houses. The next one with the carport is the south elevation, and the other one is the north. And here's a few of the other elevation views. They're looking to start this. Avita is moving pretty quick on this. They have already gotten hospital approval, and they already have a contractor. So they tentatively would like to start construction this fall. So the vacation of this street needs to be referred to platting. So even though it's been brought up before.
It's in,
It's in plating, that's why we're,
it's in plating.
Okay.
That's why it's
So,
on the agenda.
that has gotten going, and then the other thing that's going to be coming next week is 3 of the lots where the proposed parking lot are. It's going to be up for rezoning, because currently they're under R3 and they need to be switched to general business. So,
Are they gonna come and talk to full council about this?
yeah, on May 20th, representative of Avita will be presenting this project to council.
The full council, right?
Yes. Yeah. The requesting of a public hearing for a street to be vacated also needs to be
Okay.
requested.
So what I asked before was the street they were talking about putting in?
That has yet to be, I have not seen any plans
You
for the
haven't seen any prints on
relocation.
that? Okay.
What the hospital is going to be doing,
Aaron was concerned about it, that's why I'm bringing it up.
there was mention of that in your packet. There was a mention of the moratorium of understanding, I do believe, that once this is agreed to being vacated, that Avita is basically in a agreement with the city to replace the vacated street with a new connector that's going to be going along, hold on. It's going to be going along right here, connecting Plants Way, and the intersection is going to be a little bit wider, so trash trucks and fire can make the turn, as well as plow trucks.
Does that answer your question? Do you see where he's pointing?
But I've yet to see the plans for it yet.
Okay.
As of this afternoon, I was waiting from the engineer for a preliminary plan, but I haven't gotten word back from him yet.
Question?
Please.
I notice on our agenda, we are referring to this as Pleasant Hill Drive Alley Vacation. And you've indicated street vacation?
Same thing.
An alley and a
Alley and
street are the same
vacation,
thing?
same thing.
Okay.
Is it 901 or 902?
So.
901.
Yep.
It's not like we haven't looked at all those.
No, it's not in our,
For the last,
Yeah, 901.
That I see it.
Section 41.
this is IUEs,
2, 3.
and I'm gonna have a talk to him about that.
Street vacations.
I know, it didn't change. Oh, 902.
I have nothing else to share.
Okay, we can't do a public hearing until we have legislation for a public hearing, correct?
That's what I was about to ask, that's what I'm pretty sure the way it works. is
And they
that-
want us to create legislation for this and get this started without giving us the full plans of what's actually being planned on. So we're supposed to blindly just be like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea? I'm sorry, I just,
Well, just to let you know, and I'm sure Brandon can reinforce this, for a street to be vacated, you can start the legislation process without a vacation plat.
True.
but it won't be finished, like, basically, we can.
You can start the process now and get the legislation going without a vacation
finalized-
plat.
Finalize one, right? So-
Because when the vacation plat is going to be generated and submitted, there will also be a dedication plat for the relocated street. So,
So, just so I'm understanding, what you're saying is that we could have a public hearing, discuss this, have draft legislation ready, then have it referred back to this committee, and then all of that can be finalized before it's approved by council. Okay, so it's not like we're gonna vote yes, and we have no idea what we're voting on, essentially.
right, because the way it is now with the other reason why that this needs to get going is that you have public utilities in Pleasant Hill Drive.
That's not
You
gonna
have
be vacated,
Columbia
right?
Gas, you have sewer lines, you have water lines, and with this street being vacated, all those existing utilities will become easements, permanent easements. So that is also being generated, those easements, by the engineering firm. And all this will be reiterated by Avita in 2 weeks when they present.
So, we need to request draft legislation, I guess.
I make a motion to request draft legislation for the Pleasant Hill Drive or alley vacation for the Avita project.
You need a second.
You might not get it.
So draft legislation,
Does this need to be an emergency?
not now, not if, do we do?
Okay, I'm just asking.
I think it'd be something that needs to be done.
So it needs to be done, but not necessarily like emergency.
Well, the process to vacate a street takes a pretty long process because of legislation, public hearings, readings. So I would suggest that this get going, especially since how long it takes for a parcel to be changed for zoning change. Because you're gonna have 3 parcels coming up for this project that's also gonna be hearings and public meetings and stuff.
Yeah, we're going to get it together right now. I just need a second on the draft legislation
I meant the information.
as far as, do you want them to,
What other information you need, Aaron?
Okay, we don't even have a finalized exactly what they want to do, other than they want to get rid of this street. We don't know what properties are going in exchange for it. We don't know, we don't see the finalized plan, but we're supposed to hurry
Aaron,
up and do this.
Aaron.
exchange? First of all, we're not exchanging anything. It's
Pleasant
theirs.
Hills Drive is being vacated, approximately 320 linear feet of the roadway is being vacated. The relocated drive is currently owned, the property is owned by Avita. So they're going to be dedicating that as a public right-of-way. All the property that is in the development is owned by Avita already.
We're moving
So this memorandum of agreement of the vacation of Pleasant Hill Drive and the new street that Avita is paying for the relocating connector that they're paying for, should be proof enough that this needs to be started in the process.
When this was at full council, I'm trying to remember back to I don't remember what date it was, but I remember they said that we're vacating the street. They're dedicating the street that they already have as a public right-of-way. And then they're also paying to remove the street, the old street, right? They're paying for that?
Avita will be paying for the removal of the pavement.
And then they're also paying for the new street, right?
Yeah.
So cost to city is just the planning, whatever it costs?
Just the planning.
Okay.
And Mike indicated that they're coming to council on the 20th
Yes.
Yes.
for the purpose of explaining.
Explaining the project and the proposed timeline.
Would it be, all that being said, my question is, if we requested draft legislation, listen to the presentation first and then have the public hearing after?
So the
Council?
process, the flow chart is,
That's
proposed amendment goes to the planning commission.
right.
The planning commission gives recommendations. Then council refers to the amendment to Platting Committee. Platting Committee holds a meeting, sets a public hearing date for the proposal of the amendment. After the public hearing, the proposed amendment must receive 2/3 approval of the full council. After the 30 days, provided that there is no petition to the city auditor, or the ballot incentive amendment becomes law. So it's a huge, long process.
Right. But what my thought was if, two things. One, either they could present at council or they could present at the public hearing before we vote. If there's draft legislation.
So you want to wait till the 20th to have draft legislation?
No, I agree that we should have draft legislation prepared for the public hearing. But what I'm saying is I feel like it's probably pertinent to hear from them first before we vote to accept that draft legislation.
Yeah, we're not going to accept the draft legislation. It's got to come out of committee.
Okay. But the hearing had to pass by, what was it? How can we have the hearing if it's not finalized? That's what I'm,
We have a hearing, but nobody votes on anything at the hearing. It's a hearing to hear from the public. After the
Right,
public
but-
hearing, the process amendment must receive 2/3 approval of the full council.
that's where I was stating at. So basically we're saying after the hearing, then at the next full council meeting, then we vote
Goes
on it.
back to committee.
Yeah, but it has to go back
It
to
goes
committee.
back to committee first.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
has to
That
come-
doesn't make sense, is what I'm trying to say. That's confusing.
Tell me about it.
That
I agree.
process
I'd
does
like to
not-
shorten it up.
does not make any sense.
Well, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the purpose of, after the planning commission has, reviewed and made any recommendations, that it's referred back to committee
Correct.
to address any of those recommendations. Now, I guess the question could be asked, well, what if they don't have any recommendations? But we're not going to know that until,
We
have
receive a
direct
letter
legislation.
from the planning commission.
right, yeah.
So you want to wait? I guess I'm trying to get ahead of the ball. Give me a minute.
And Aaron, again, if I may ask what your concerns are, just so I'm understanding.
When they brought this up, we sent it to council, or and they were going to make sure somebody came in and explained everything and had all the information so we could get this on the ball. And instead, this is what we're getting. And we might know something soon. Again.
They're coming to full council on the 20th.
Right, but the whole thing was, that when it came to committee, it was going to be explained completely.
But it's not going to be out of
It's not gonna be
plating.
even a-
It's not even going to be out of plating on the 20th, is what I'm saying.
But we're supposed to ask for legislation and vote on getting legislation without information.
We're not voting on legislation, we're
On
asking.
getting, yeah.
We're just asking Mr. Goldberg to write up legislation. That's all this motion's for. Greg, I'm working on a second right now, just hold on. So,
And we've had this was referred to our committee back on March the 4th. So here we are, over 2 months later.
I'd like to add to that,
Okay,
the reason why it's coming back again, because it was under redesign.
okay.
So that's why there was changes with the building plan. And also, when it was first brought up, it still had not been reviewed by the Avita Board of Directors. But since it has been approved to go forward, that's why there was the delay.
And I know I did ask the question when this first came up, if the neighbors, or not the neighbors, but the people living on Pleasant Hill Drive, if they'd been contacted and knew what was going on, and I was
Yes,
assured,
the whole neighborhood has signed off.
okay.
All the adjoining property owners have signed off with Avita
Okay.
that they're for the project.
And you've seen that sign off?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay.
We just wait till public participation, or is that just hanging out?
yeah, give it a minute. So I got a motion on the floor, so.
If I may add, I just don't want you guys to wait until there is a vacation dedication plat or a set of plans for the roadway until you start draft legislation for this, because I really don't want to delay this project, because it's going to delay all the utilities and everything for this project if we delay it.
This increases the value of the city, it's new buildings, it's new rehab facility.
I'll go ahead and, you made the motion, did you,
Right.
Clarissa? I'll go ahead and second that motion. I understand where you're coming from, Aaron.
Yeah, it's just really frustrating when you're promised information and you're still kind of kept in the dark. They hadn't okayed it, but then as soon as they did, they were bringing it to us, and they're coming after we're being asked to do something. That's frustrating. It's not transparent at all, at all. I mean, we're supposed to do this in the dark. Cover your eyes and just go with it and believe what they have to say. And I have a problem with that. That's very frustrating. That's how a lot of things happen when everybody gets mad at all of us.
But we're not asking to vote, we're not asking to vote on anything yet.
Right.
We're just asking for
We're just asking
draft
for the
For
legislation.
draft,
Okay.
It's just
That's
a
it.
piece of everything that's gonna come together before we vote. on
It's a
the final
getting
thing.
started type deal.
Yes.
Say, hey, Vita, we're on board with you.
Okay.
Right,
That's what it's saying.
gesture of goodwill, so.
Clarissa?
Yes,
Vicki?
Yes.
Aaron?
No.
I'm a yes. Mr. Goldberg? Can you
Yes.
take care of that for us, please?
I will do that.
Awesome.
And just to make sure, we're saying that we want it to be an emergency, or we don't need it to be an emergency.
Well, this is-
I know I'd asked the question, and I don't remember if I got an answer. Just so that the law director knows when he prepares the draft, how to prepare it.
It's draft legislation, so once you get it back, that's when you would decide if you're emergent or not.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
So we would be jumping the gun to schedule any kind of public hearing, correct? Would everybody agree?
Until we hear from them.
Until we see the
I would
those.
suggest not to have a public hearing until you have a vacation plat
Okay.
or a street
That way we can
plan.
do them all at once.
Yeah.
We can, okay.
Otherwise, we'd have multiple, is what I'm hearing.
Open projects.
Our land swap, you had started to talk about that at our last committee meeting, and I started to explain what was going on, and got cut off and said, we'll deal with it later, is what you said. So I don't know if you want to talk about the land swap, because you were asking about that at the last meeting. Because this has been going on, it's over a year now.
So that's a removal of Looks Drive? Is that the one?
Yes.
What's the land swap?
That's right.
Let's drive.
Yeah.
We're still working on that.
Okay, we're not gonna remove it then.
Okay, may I ask what we're still working on?
I'm working with Dylan. It should be done sometime next week. He had to get me some new documents.
So we'll keep 1189.03 on housing issues. Anything else in question?
Is that, I guess it would fall under this as well. I think it's in another committee. One second. So there was the DeWine Rural Housing Project, which would be a housing issue. I just don't know if that got referred to
It's in
us.
economic development.
Is it an
Yeah.
economic development?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we good?
Yeah, I think so.
Public participation, you're good? Meeting adjourns at 6:44.
Economic Development Committee, May 8th, 2025.
I call the Economic Development Committee meeting to order at 6:45 PM. Members present are Chris Moritz, Clarissa Slater, myself, Vicki DeShawn as co-chair, and absent is Mr. Hickman, chair. First on the agenda, public participation. Seeing no one. Next is the approval of the minutes from the April 3rd, 2025 regular Economic Development Committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll
What day
second
was
it.
it?
Okay,
April 3rd.
All right, roll call. Moritz,
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
and Deshawn, no. Open projects?
So I don't have anything from open projects specifically, other than the AOFF grant. I met with Greg Timberlake, which he's the interim director at the partnership, 2 weeks ago, I want to say. Might have been last Monday. Yes, it was last Monday. So I met with him last Monday. Very nice. I got to meet the whole crew and learn more about what they do. We discussed the AOFF grant, and I believe we're gonna have a follow-up with that. They have their individual, I believe her name is Ashley, that writes grants, and so she's gonna take a look at it and evaluate our properties and see if there's any properties that are eligible for such a grant. And they did concur that they believe, looking at it, that it's for site improvement. The AOFF is, so the site improvement means also increasing city infrastructure. So if we were developing a high-capacity or well-developed factory plot, it would help fund the sewer as long as we own the property. The problem is that we have to have an end user within, I think, 3 to 5 years, or we have to pay back on a loan basis for whatever was given. So I got the ball rolling on that one.
I spoke today with Greg Timberlake, who, as Clarissa has stated, is the interim director for the Crawford Partnership. He informed me that within the next several days, he is hoping to schedule a gathering, or I'm going to refer to it as a workshop, to be held soon here in Bucyrus with elected or appointed township and city individuals to meet with a Columbus attorney who will provide information and answer questions about the JED and CETA programs. Once I've received the scheduled meeting day and time, I will inform Miranda so she can send out an email. Now, my question, Mr. Gobrick, to you is it proper for us to consider this a workshop? And if so, how many committee council members can legally attend this workshop without us violating the sunshine laws?
That's a great question. It's something that I can look into to see if that constitutes a workshop or not.
Okay,
Sounds more like a conversation, but I'll look into it.
okay, thank you.
And he mentioned that when I was there as well, and he stated that it was like a presentation,
All right,
that they were planning on having someone come in and educate us on how those programs work. So that kind of helps frame it a little bit more.
you heard what, okay, thank you. All right, any other open projects that we want to talk about? All right, next, public participation. Seeing no one, I will adjourn the Economic Development Committee meeting at 6:50 PM.
Public Lands and Buildings Committee, May 8th, 2025.
Calling the Public Lands and Buildings Committee meeting to order at 6:51 PM. Members present, Christopher Moritz, Clarissa Slater, and myself, Sierra and Sherrick, as chair. Mr. Zion Hickman is absent tonight. Do we have anybody for public participation?
Ray Thitoff, 210 Ethel Street. I wanted to take a minute and thank,
Wait just a second. Hey guys, can you quiet down so that we can hear him? Thank you.
I want to take a minute and thank Chris Kleka and Sarah Yowsey out of the Family Farm and Home. For the second year in a row, they donated 3 trees to the Bucyrus Trails Committee, 3 flowering crab apples that I think we're planning on putting down at All Miller Park. I need to talk to Tommy Starner yet. Like, again, I wanted to thank them. And also, the Bucyrus Trails Committee would like to invite the public to join them this Saturday, May 10th, from 1 to 3 at the Pines Marsh for marsh and mushrooms. Join us for an afternoon of hunting morel mushrooms and discovering the marsh. We're going to have maps available of the property. I ask that people park on the south parking area located at County Road 330, just east of Route 30. You can look for a little tent. I'm going to have a tent set up, maybe some refreshments or something in the cooler. And you can find us on Facebook. If you just search Bucyrus Trails, if you need any more information, you can find us on Facebook. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much. And you said park on the south side by 3:30.
Yeah, across from the Lowe's.
Yeah, the only real good parking lot we have right now is on old Route 30, the old south parking lot of the old Pines Reservoir, just east of the new 30. Can't miss it. You're going out of town, it's right on the left.
And did you need anything for that?
Nope, we're good.
All right.
Weather permitting.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate the donation of the trees too. That's awesome. Do we have any other public participation? Okay, seeing none. Next, that was supposed to be on our agenda was the sale of public lands, but we are still finalizing some information, so we're going to hold that off until the next meeting. So do we have anything on open projects list anybody would like to speak about tonight?
This isn't going to be something that's legislative. It is on open projects, though. I'm assuming that the recirculator pump with the splash pad is not going to happen this year. Do we know if they're opening it at all?
I thought one was bought for it and was going to get replaced.
The recirculator was bought?
I believe so.
When?
I mean, I thought John Dunn brought that up, that was gonna, or there was funds to buy it. Maybe it's funds to buy it. Maybe. No? I could have swore I heard that brung up.
We need one.
I know. For some reason, it sticks in my head.
No, I think what he was talking about was something out at the pool. There was another thing out at
Oh,
the
another
pool.
pump at the pool?
Yeah.
Oh, that's for the baby part of
That
the
was
pool.
the baby pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the baby
So
pool.
we already had a pump, but there was something else.
Right.
That's where the pump got brought up.
I'm like,
Sorry.
I know pump was somewhere.
All right. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have anybody that can direct
Answer that
any of
question.
that. So anything else this evening? Do we have any other public participation? All right, then I will adjourn the meeting at 6:55 PM.
Committee, May 8th, 2025.
Service Committee called to order at 6:58. Thank you, Aaron. Members present, see Aaron Sherrick, Kevin Myers, Zion Hickman absent. I myself, Chris Mertz, chair. Any public participation at this time?
Yep, Clarissa Slater, 3645 State Route 4. A representative from the Kiwanis messaged me between the two meetings, and since it's also in service, I was going to bring up the splash pad. It is in works to be opened. The features are up. There was an issue where some individuals destroyed the pad, so they're waiting on the company to replace it hopefully Monday, and currently there is no recirculating. Jeff Dunn would be a good resource for the status of it at this time, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to add to that, Chris, I think, if I remember right, Mr. Dunn stated that after the project was done the way it was without any recirculation, they said
Right.
it would be cost prohibitive to go back. You'd almost be like tearing it out and building a brand new splash pad. And so they said it was cost prohibitive to add a circulating feature to the water. So it's just water
Kiwanis
down the
actually
drain.
does own it, don't they? We just supply the water.
No, we own it. They paid for
They
it.
help take care for it. Okay.
What would the ramifications be to just get rid of the splash pad?
Well, you're gonna make yourself look like an ass to the public for starters. So, I mean, that's a big ramification to me, only because it was a community project by the Kiwanis and funded by the Kiwanis for the community, so.
And it's really the only place that we have that people can take their multiple handicapped kids to do things like that, because you can take the
Yeah.
wheelchairs and stuff in.
Gotcha.
It's It's a
Just asking questions.
benefit to our community.
Benefit, yeah, thank you. Can't talk today.
Just asking questions. It's gonna come up and they're gonna say it's gonna be wasting a lot of water.
2 million gallons. Okay. I'd like to ask for approval of minutes for March 20th, 2025.
Mr. Moritz, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 20th, 2025 regular council meeting, regular service committee meeting, sorry, not council.
Do I have a second?
Yes, sir.
Aaron Sherrick first, Kevin Myers second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Aye, sorry. Motion approved. Going to bring up Title IX tonight. As far as the changes we have made, I only see, as far as I read today, only maybe 3 or 4 ordinances that might need a little tweaking. The ones I had listed, I have checked off. I've went through it all. Those changes have been made to 5 ordinances that I had concerns with already have been fixed. I only have, from what I've been looking at, would be 925-05, 925-07, 931-02, E, F, and G sections, which I actually wrote up my own ordinance on that. Hopefully Brandon won't laugh at it too hard when he sees it. And then 913-12 needs some attention as well. Also, let me see.
I've got a couple in 931 as well, Chris, whenever you're ready for them.
Oh yeah, because you had more than just a...
Yeah, I had a couple of just questions mainly. 93102 in C, under collection provisions, it just mentions that the service director shall cause all the garbage to be hauled to the county sanitary landfill. Do we want to specify that in there? Because I think, there's talk that at some point in the future, the landfill is going to fill up and they're going to have to go somewhere else. So to save us from having to rewrite this a few years down the road, do we need to specify the county landfill in there, or just say the landfill of the most closest appropriate?
To the appropriate, just,
It just says
Closest
I
appropriate.
wouldn't even say closest, I would say to the appropriate, because whatever happens, I mean, we don't know how things are gonna change.
So instead of just saying, where'd I go?
Instead of saying to the county landfill.
To the county landfill, yeah.
Yeah, I still feel it should say closest appropriate. That way we're going to the closest appropriate.
Not bad. What do you think, Brandon? Good? Or would you do it different?
No, that sounds good.
And then under the same chapter, under D, where it says no person other than the city and private haulers shall transport, I think we should reference no person other than the private haulers as referenced in 931.10. Should move, because to me, what's a private hauler? Chris Moritz with his pickup truck could be, some people might look at that as a private hauler.
Right.
But in this instance, 931.10 is a private hauler who has become licensed, so or just change the word to licensed private hauler.
That should be licensed, not private there, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it should say licensed private hauler.
Or, yeah, licensed private hauler.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Reference to 931.10.
We can do that.
And then Chris, you already mentioned about the trash can gallon size.
Right, I actually rewrote that whole thing. Hopefully Brandon likes it when he sees it. And like I said, doesn't laugh at me.
And then I've got a couple.
I did have a meeting with Landon today over that too, and I might have to reword some of the stuff I did because of his concerns on that, being in that part of the city business. But I'm gonna look over that again and see if I really want to reword it or not.
All right, in 931.06, and in 08, both these terms appear, and I just want to make sure they're proper. Where it says a nuisance is hereby declared and no person shall store, place, or allow to remain any used building materials. I don't know, it might fit there, but then it also has it in 931.08, notwithstanding the provisions in 931.06, a person may purchase used building materials. Is it supposed to be used, or could that be new? I don't understand why we're.
Should be any
So-
purchased material.
Are we trying to say something that's being misunderstood?
This also is covered in zoning, I believe. And I asked this question if we should even keep these in here. And they wanted to keep these in, as far as the ordinance goes. They wanted to keep those in to be able to take care of some of the properties here in town that are, you know, like on Mary Street.
Yeah, but I mean,
Otherwise-
to me, that one would be new materials if I'm gonna buy them and store them to use in later construction on the same lot. I don't understand why we're designating used materials, should be any materials.
Because it's directly making an exception to 931.06. The intent, or at least my understanding of the intent is, when you rip it out and you're getting rid of it, you can't store it along with automobile parts, scrap metal.
That makes
blah,
sense,
blah,
but
blah,
it
blah.
says right here that I
But
may
there's an
purchase used.
Right, there's an aftermarket for used building materials that can be salvaged.
Okay. So, we're saying that you can buy used stuff and leave it sit
As
there.
long as your intent is
Okay.
to put it up, like, I would say reclaimed stuff. like
Okay.
Reclaimed Amish stuff.
That makes sense. Are we referencing new materials anywhere like that?
No, because I don't think anywhere in here it says anything specifically about prohibiting new materials from being able to be stored on the
Okay,
thing.
so because it's not prohibited, doesn't
Right.
mean, that's all I need. I just want an explanation. 'Cause
It's
that-
kinda- you
That
remember-
word really caught me oddly.
The word that makes that so confusing is notwithstanding. Confuses me every time I see
And
it.
you went to law school.
And I went to law school.
My last question is in 931.10 on the licensing under D,
Okay.
under the financial responsibility. Same thing we talked about with the taxi cabs. Why don't we just reference it back to the Ohio Revised Code and not put a dollar amount in there? That way, if it ever changes, that we're not going back and making changes again.
What section of
931.10 D.
D? Okay,
Yeah,
so not
I
D.
think do the same exact thing we discussed with the taxi cabs and just refer it, however you want to word it, back to the Ohio Revised Code and not put our own dollar amounts in there.
Sounds good to me. What do you want to do?
Works on it? Works that for me, so we just take that section out?
We don't take it out.
Nope, just reference it back. to
Reference
the
it back, excuse me,
ORC.
reference it back,
There you go.
thank you.
All right, step back like three seconds here. So we're talking about storing used building materials after saying that we don't want used building materials left out.
With the different intentions, so used
Okay,
building materials, like you
so-
get out there and you're gonna take it down to the studs and you break up a bunch of drywall. You can't just store it on the property, you gotta get rid of it. But if
Okay.
you go in there and you meticulously take out the drywall and then sell it, and somebody wants to reuse that drywall, its intent is to be used, so it's different, because what section were we in? 931.06
and 08.
08.
Yeah.
08 specifically says that if you're going to purchase used materials, which there's a big market for used materials in house renovations, it's saying that 931.06 wouldn't constitute a nuisance.
Yeah, and you
So
only
it's
have
based
30
on-
days that you can leave it there.
Right.
So,
It's based on the intent.
Also because the house on Wiley Street that was building a shed out of a trailer. And people were complaining that that trailer was left there, he was tearing it apart to build a shed. That was where, that kind of would fall underneath that whole thing too.
Sure. Well, I would like to see from a property code maintenance standpoint,
That could be what's
see
under
that
property code
30
maintenance, not
days
zoning,
be
sorry.
increased, because it's not really enough time for a lot of the property owners. And we're running into that problem where, and I ran into that problem when I was renovating my house, is 30 days is not a lot of time when you're trying to renovate a house yourself and you have a full-time job, and at that
that says
time
you
I
just
was
have to
going law
start
school.
it, you have to start it within 30 days, doesn't say you have to finish it. It has to be commenced. And you have 4 months to finish, once you've commenced.
I have an issue with that date. Building permit right now is anywhere from 6 months to a year. How are you going to?
You're gonna issue somebody a permit, tell them they can do something, and then say, no, you can't. Is that what you're
Sorry,
saying?
how am I going to enforce that?
Consumed in construction, within a period of 4 months from the time of materials are first placed in, yeah. I think Mike's right. That's gotta change.
And also for used or surplus building material, are you going to let us enforce that? Are you going to require it to be sheltered inside a garage or a shipping container and not allowing it to be in a enclosed backyard?
Well, I'd say if it's in a garage, am I wrong in thinking that then it's not your problem, you know? 'Cause
But
if
then
you-
there's these properties in town that I don't need to mention that have large supplies of used building material
With intent to use.
Yeah.
with intent to
You just
use.
put a Post-it note on it and say, I plan to use this, is that good enough?
No,
So a lot of this stuff's not enforceable in
Yeah.
in some of these sections, it's just,
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's not
no, I
enforceable.
shouldn't say a lot of it, but there are sections that it's
We
pretty
could
hard to
say,
enforce.
no, this one, a lot of the stuff in the property maintenance code, the international property maintenance code, straight up isn't enforceable. But if we tweak this to say that there's a reasonable use, then somebody's mere intent to use it sometime in the future would stop a lot of dads from hoarding
What do you, I
pieces of
mean,
wood.
do you even just go as far as to say if a building permit has issued? Does that change it? You know, instead of putting a time limit on it, saying it can sit there if a building permit has been issued for the duration of the permit?
Or would it be better to have the 4-month time limit and added unless authorized by a building permit?
yeah, I like that.
Because
Unless they,
Yeah, that takes care of that.
That way you don't have people just storing it and they're gonna use it for something that doesn't need a building permit.
Can they commence the construction without the building permit?
Yes.
the
Depends on
problem,
what they're doing.
the
I
I was
problem
gonna say,
right
it depends
now
on what
is
they're doing.
the building permit's 6 months. In ad hoc, I was gonna request it go to 12 months. Because sometimes people run out of funds doing a project.
That, to me, would be another one where you don't put it in here, you just say, reference it back to, you know, as long as you have a valid building permit.
Right, but that's what I was saying, I would have something
And
like
not put
that.
that time frame in it.
I would have a time frame, or unless you have it waived by having a building permit. Like, because if you're doing a project that doesn't need a building permit, then, I mean, I can literally tell you, I have been making planter boxes since we moved into the house in 2013.
That's the one in the corner of the garage there?
Looks like you got 4 months to get those finished.
I have given the wood that I've gotten for those planter boxes to other people for other projects 5 times now.
Would it be all right to ask Mike and Brandon to get together on coming up with a wording that suits your ability to do your job?
There you go.
Sounds good to me.
And I want to get with Brandon on the ones that I have issues on that I already aforementioned.
I'm just
Sometime.
a really popular guy, aren't I?
Well, at least I tried
Only on
to make my own
Thursdays.
ordinance for the one. Like I said, don't laugh at me. All right. Any more discussion on that one? Okay, moving on to open projects. I have one, since administration's not here. I don't know if it get answered or not, but I was wanting to know where utility service superintendent is, how far has that come along? Because we sent it back for rewording originally to make that a new position.
Yeah. We've had some developments on that front, but I'm not going to be the one to.
Yeah, I was going to say administration's not here, so.
Right.
But I just want to bring that up, that one of the things I was asked to bring up, that people were wondering, actually people were wondering where that's been. So I was asked to bring it up. Anybody else have anything on open projects? Seeing none, public participation.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. I'd just like to have an update on what's going on with the wastewater treatment plant. We haven't heard anything for 4 months now.
I can answer that. There have been developments on that front. We're working on it. When it's time to announce the changes, we'll announce the changes. But as of right now, it's a legal issue and not subject to public conversation.
Okay.
You know about as much as we know at this point.
Well, so good.
Thank you. Any more public participation? Seeing none, I'll adjourn at 7:15.
Health and Safety Committee, May 8th, 2025.
I call the Health and Safety Committee meeting to order at 7:16 PM. Members present are Kevin Myers, C. Aaron Sherrick, James Me, and myself, Vicki DeShawn. First on the agenda, public participation.
Clarissa Slater, 3645 State Route 4. I think it's probably the best committee to bring this up in, but I think it's still ridiculous that we're paying an officer to be here for this committee meetings. So just wanted it on the record noted that I can't believe we're still wasting overtime money on this when we're in a budget crisis. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Craig White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. I have a couple questions for the chairman. So when we're talking about the contract, and I know it's still an executive session, I had a conversation with Brandon today, and I'm still a little bit confused on this, that it's still stuck in executive session. So if the contract has been agreed upon by both parties, okay, that in itself makes it public record once both signatures are applied to the agreement. Question for Vicki, though, is this, and I went back and looked at a lot of the other ordinances, and don't we have to have an ordinance to have a collective bargaining agreement?
Isn't that what we're,
I was gonna say, that's what was referred.
Yeah, to accept it, you mean, Greg?
Not to, I'm just saying, are you accepting the contract, or if you're accepting the contract and an ordinance, which it wasn't in the packet, this is the old stuff. So last contract was ordinance 11-2023, okay? The ordinance authorizing and adopting the contract with the International Association of Firefighters Local 120, retroactive to January 1st, 2022, as it pertains to pay and declaring it an emergency. So we have an ordinance to accept the contract, okay? So, yet we're talking about we're not actually talking about the specific information in the contract because we're not allowed to do that, okay? But we have an ordinance to accept the contract. But however, tonight, we're talking about the contract resolution. Is that about the
It's to request that piece of legislation for this year.
for this year?
Yeah.
But you're not accepting the contract yet?
It would be, this committee would request that, and then it would go to the full council on the 20th, at which point.
and it would be an ordinance authorizing and adopting the contract.
Okay.
And the
So-
reason that, excuse me,
No, go ahead.
the reason that this ordinance number 11-2023 and its attachment was placed on documents on demand, and that was at my request, this was just for the committee's reference as to, this is what we've done in the past, and this is what we want to look at when we're asking for our new ordinance, and also for the law director's
Well, that's what I'm
use.
saying is,
Which is much appreciated.
but the only thing is, if you make an ordinance tonight, it doesn't come back to the committee, right?
Correct. If we request it, then it.
So
next
the
time-
public is not going to be able to see the contract prior to you guys voting on the 20th on the contract?
No, you're not gonna see it until after the vote and it's signed.
Okay. But The only thing is, if the agreement has already been agreed upon between the administration and the union,
It hasn't been agreed upon. It won't be agreed upon.
it hasn't been signed yet.
Correct. It
The
won't be
agreement
agreed
hasn't been
upon.
signed.
It won't be agreed upon until
So
it's
the
signed.
public will not have any rights to look at the contract or anything like that prior to the voting of council.
Correct.
So if, as my opinion, the council is going to give the fire department at least what they gave the other ones at $4.25 an hour
I'm not
increase.
talking about what
I
is
understand
or
that.
is
That
not
is
in the
my
contract.
opinion by the last contracts,
Speculation's pretty dangerous.
okay? That the ASME got $4.25, the clerk got $5.25, and then the non-union employees got $4.25 the other night. So, all right, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Mr. Gilbert, may I ask a question of you?
Shoot.
When the time comes, and the committee requests this ordinance, authorizing and adopting the contract, and in the ordinance, it refers to attached and marked as Exhibit A, and it's the contract. I'm trying to remember. This will be put on documents on demand for the council meeting, whatever meeting we ask for this to be presented. So at that time, then, the contract will be attached? So then it's for all to see? Or,
My understanding is until it's signed by
Okay.
both parties, no one can see it.
okay, I couldn't remember, many moons ago when I would be typing in this legislation, how we did that. Of course, we didn't have documents on demand back then. So, okay. And just to point out that, it had been referred to both the health and safety and to finance the contract resolution. Well, we come to find out it's not a resolution, it's an ordinance, so, just for clarification.
And it did come out of finance the last time.
Okay,
But I think health and safety gave their blessing and
Gotcha.
finance requested the legislation.
okay, all right. Okay, so, I guess we got off with public participation on that. So next, any other public participation? Next on the agenda, approval of minutes from the April 24th, 25 regular Health and Safety Committee meeting.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the April 24th, 2025 regular Health and Safety Committee meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
And myself, Deshawn? No. Next on the agenda, we have proposed ordinance number 24-2025, the traffic control map update. Do I have, does anybody have anything to say about the ordinance?
I didn't happen to see they didn't put it in the packet, did you, with the proposed? Okay, I missed over that, I'm sorry. So it's got what the map,
Well, I know you had referenced at, was it the council meeting, about putting and what is that? I'm trying to remember because I
So-
didn't have Miranda look for,
Yeah, so it's the master book of
Okay.
all traffic control, the traffic control map, which is kept in the administration office. I want to see how it is currently worded for this section, and I want to see the proposed change. We got into this a couple of years ago because something that was discussed and presented to council didn't get worded as we had intended for it to. So I don't want to vote on it until I see the wording that they plan to put in the master traffic control map.
okay. Of course, they're probably going to say to us, well, how do we know what to put in there until we get the piece of legislation that says what to put?
Because they're the ones, the traffic commission's the ones that brought it to us and says, we want to take out this lane and add this lane.
Okay.
So I want to see it. So
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion to table this until
Okay.
there's somebody here from
Okay.
administration that can give us that. They stipulated it wasn't an emergency,
Exactly,
so.
you're right.
And I have one other question to go with that, and that was, this is a state route? Was this okay through the state as well? Because, I mean, I was pretty sure that the state was part of the reason we had that in there, and this big thing about how these small towns hold up traffic during the summer was brought up multiple times over the last few years, and how they're trying to go around Route
good.
4, and
It's a good point, because we were told, we tried, meaning the city, we
Yeah.
tried changing the speed limit, and the state came and said, no, fix it back.
And
So-
then they changed it and made it faster.
Right, because the state said so.
Because the
So
state said so.
I think Aaron brings up a valid question. I think somebody needs to verify that the state is okay with this change before we pass it.
Well, I'm on the Traffic Commission as the Health and Safety Chairperson. I do not recall any discussion about it
The
being, state route, talking to anyone. But I will be happy as the chair to check.
because we keep getting accused of not having a good enough traffic pattern and holding people up going north to the lakes. Like, there's somebody at the state who wants to have a bypass of Route 4 around all these stupid little towns.
Well,
Which-
at least we got the yellow flashing lights going for us.
And so then what we're asking, I will take this proposed ordinance and then talk with Jenny down in the police department, because she's the one that maintains the traffic control map. I knew there was some discussion about Lisa, but
That's why, because
Jenny's,
I thought Kelly, when Kelly was in there with the last administration, I could have sworn that she kept it, but maybe it is. I don't know if you could answer that.
I do know at the Traffic Commission meetings that we've had that it's Jenny
Okay.
that maintains it, and maybe
Then
what
I
she
spoke
does is then,
incorrectly. I
well, she
mentioned
may
Lisa's
pass a copy of that on to Lisa to have up there
Okay.
in the administration's office. Okay, so again, I'm gonna show her this and say, we would like to see how it is you're proposing to put it, okay, gotcha.
Can I ask what intersection this is?
This is Sandusky from Southern down to Beale. They're taking out the center turn lane and making it just 2 lanes instead of 3 lanes, but when you get to Southern or get to Beale, there will be a turn lane put in there.
Yeah.
If that map helps you,
Well, I'm sure District 3 ODOT approved it,
okay.
so, because,
Well, I'll double check.
it's a state route, so you probably would have had a letter received from Ashland, District 3 office for that. But a state route in a municipality, the state doesn't plow it, we do. That works with any city. When I was with Huron County, Norwalk changed their speed limit, they reduced it. ODOT came through, changed it back up to 45 in certain areas. Just like as you go through Plymouth, they dropped it down to 25, had to put it back up to 35. I think actually parts of it's 45 miles an hour.
Same thing happened here,
Yeah.
out by McDonald's.
Okay, next, repealing and not replacing ordinance number 46-96. So we have in front of us the ordinance, proposed ordinance number 23-2025. Has the committee had a chance to look over that draft? And that draft does have the revisions or observations that I had mentioned. Those have been placed in there. Yeah, I mentioned at the April 24th, 2025 meeting. And I know Miranda had sent a copy of this to the committee members back on May 1st, asking that if, anything had been missed, please feel free to contact her. So I'm assuming nobody contacted you?
So we're just getting rid of snow emergency procedures.
Yep.
Essentially, the signage was the issue. So yeah, we're getting rid of the law, so they don't have to replace the signs, is
Oh.
the purpose.
So when we have the snow emergencies and we have the one vehicle hit another vehicle because of the snow, and they should have been not there in the first place, then it's not a big deal and the city's not going to be found liable for anything in there, right? That was my thought, and I wasn't here for that last one, so.
Is that a question that you're directing to the
And
law
anybody
director?
that could answer it,
No.
because I mean,
The short
like,
answer is no.
Know that,
We wouldn't be liable,
okay.
probably.
Probably.
The short answer
Probably,
is no.
maybe.
The short answer is no.
because like, the city used to pile snow up in certain places that now that they can't because they caused accidents. So having places that they can't clear out that would probably need to be cleared wouldn't be a great idea either. Yeah, we all know I'm against this.
So does anybody want to entertain a motion?
Repealing and not replacing ordinance 46 and 96.
Excuse me?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay, roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Sherrick?
No?
Me?
Yes.
And Deshawn, yes. Then next on the agenda, we have the contract ordinance for IAFF. And I guess,
I'll make the motion for health and safety to approve it and move it on to finance.
okay. Did we hear that motion?
I'll second that.
Any more or any discussion? Motion by Myers, second by Sherrick. And I apologize, I forgot to make those comments earlier when we had motions and seconds. Roll call, Myers?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
And myself, Deshawn, yes. Open projects. Do you have any open projects you'd like to discuss? I have none.
I have none.
Jim?
Nope.
Aaron?
I'm good.
Okey dokey. Lastly, public participation again.
Kurt Fankhauser, 1415 Michigan Drive. I was watching online. Just wanted to clarify, Mr. Gobricht. Mr. White had asked about when does that contract become public, and you said when both parties sign it.
That's my understanding.
So when IAFF signs it and administration signs it, at that point in time, this is before it's even on documents on demand or anything on that, at that point in time, it's public.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify, thanks.
Any other public participation? Seeing no one, I adjourn the Health and Safety Committee meeting at 7:35 PM.
8th, 2025.
Call the Finance Committee meeting to order at 7:36 PM. Members present are James Me, Christopher Moritz, Vicky DeShawn, and Kevin Myers, Chair. Is there any public participation for Finance?
Kurt Fankhauser, 1415 Michigan Drive. Further clarification, because the IAFF contract is in this committee too, Mr. Gobrick. You stated in the health and safety meeting that earlier, when I was watching online, that council was going to vote on that contract and then the rest of the public was going to get to see it. But then you just said right prior to right now, that as soon as both parties sign it, it's contract, or it's public, so then it would be, like, would you guys, if somebody was to come up and make a public record request at that point, and this is prior to council voting on it, would you release that
We
contract?
can't sign it until council authorizes it or rejects it. So council doesn't get a say over any of the terms that were negotiated, but the council gets to decide whether they ratify or reject it, and then administration gets to sign it, or we go back to the table. And until both parties sign it, we can't talk about it.
Okay, that's different than what was explained earlier. So, you're talking once it's passed legislatively and then signed by the administration, that's what you're referring to?
Well, yeah, the administration can't sign it until the resolution gets passed and
I'm
council
referring
authorizes
to
it.
when the collective bargaining union signs off on an offer, the administration, because when we did the Ask Me,
Well,
they
that was a-
released that.
That was a wage reopener. That wasn't,
So you're saying because that was a wage reopener that that's different?
it is different. Kind of the same, but different.
So if I go back on documents on demand and look at any of the past collective bargaining full contracts, not wage reopeners, you're saying that they should not have put the full ordinance with attachment in for the public to see 24 hours prior to the meeting?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, my recommendation would be we don't put it on documents on demand 24 hours.
But if
before
we had done
it
that
gets
in past
authorized
practice, you're
and
saying that
signed.
was done in error?
That would be my understanding.
Okay.
So you just stated that, sorry,
No, yeah,
you just stated that they would go back to renegotiate if we didn't pass it?
Correct.
The legislation that we're going to ask for is going to be to do one of two things. It's going to be to authorize the administration to accept it or authorize the administration to reject it. If we authorize them to accept it, that is when we would pass that legislation, and only after that's passed can they sign it. Once they sign it, then it becomes public, is the way I'm understanding it.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. So we're going to approve a contract possibility, okay? But we haven't decided on the other two key issues that is facing council. The other two ordinances, the manpower, the manning, and the legislation on the fire chief and service safety director. That's still in limbo. So we're going to approve a contract without getting those approved first?
The one about the manpower was brought up Monday, and it was held to one reading.
Right. So, but we're going to approve something before the decision is made on that
Well, that's
first?
part of what we're discussing tonight.
So that's key, two key factors right there. I don't think anything should be approved or done with until those two ordinances are defined by council first. This should be tabled until those two things are completed, done, voted with, and everything like that. Then come back to this, and then bring this out, because you have those two factors out of the way. But now you're circumventing things?
Well, we're still in public participation.
Okay,
Your
that's fine.
Your opinion is duly noted, and when we get to it during the
Okay.
agenda, I will remind everybody that you had that opinion. Any other public participation? All right, you have in front of you the minutes from the April 3rd, 2025 regular Finance Committee meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
so moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Mrs. DeShawn and a second by Mr. Moritz. Any discussion? Mrs. DeShawn?
Yes.
Mr. Moritz?
Yes.
Mr. Me?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, the motion passes. All right, transfers for the Waterworks Fund. We have been asked from the auditor's report on Monday for the purpose of payment of Water System Improvement Bond, Series 2025, transferring from 701 Waterworks under 7525 distribution, $139,000 out of contractual services, line 23, transferring to 701-7910 debt retirement, the same sum of $139,000 to line 26 debt retirement. So we're requesting emergency legislation for this transfer.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Me and a second by Mr. Moritz requesting emergency legislation for the transfer of $139,000. Any discussion? Mr. Me?
Yes.
Mr. Moritz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeShawn?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, that motion carries. All right, contract resolution, as I promised Mr. White, I want to reiterate his opinion was to table this until those other two issues were tackled. With that being said, Mr. Me, any thoughts, questions, concerns?
No.
I also think it should be tabled for now.
You do want it tabled?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with whatever the committee
And I
wants to
also
do.
agree with that, so
Table.
we will table that until we see where those other two issues go. Is there any open projects you wish to discuss, Mr. Me?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Moritz?
I am.
I'm good.
Mrs. DeShawn?
I'm fine.
Public participation. Seeing none, we will adjourn at 7:43 PM.